It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Take your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Well, it is Friday. It is happy hour, but we're going to change things up a little bit because I feel a little guilty. Last Friday's happy hour was all about French fries, and I feel like it's my fault if you gained some weight last week. I put on 5 pounds last week because, well, I had nothing but French fries on my brain, and there was a lot of stressful news going on, and sometimes you got to emotionally eat your way out of it. So today we're going to focus on something a little different. We're going to focus on something a little healthier. We happen to live in the most beautiful state in the nation, and there is a lot of gorgeous nature all around us. There is perfect weather here. Even in the summertime, it is still cool in the mornings. So this might be one of the greatest places in the country to go hiking. When I go on vacation, I am very active. When I go on vacation, I like to walk around everywhere if it's possible. That's why I go to Santa Fe all the time. As I discovered earlier this summer in my Northern California vacation, boy, could I get a lot of walking and hiking done when I went to San Francisco and Carmel. We'll get to all of that. If you have a place anywhere in the state of California, could be somewhere local, could be somewhere you travel to that just has the most beautiful hiking that you can do in this state. Tell me about a great place to go hiking in California. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Where can you really reconnect with nature in California? Where is your hiking spot? 800-222-KABC. I got to say, at the beginning of my vacation up in San Francisco, I didn't think hiking was going to be on the list. I knew that we'd be doing a lot of city walking because one of the things about San Francisco is you can actually walk everywhere. But I was shocked and amazed at how huge Golden Gate Park is and the fact that it's right plop in the middle of the city. So once you get there, you feel like you're in the wilderness. Of course, I always say wilderness with an asterisk. I like manicured wilderness. I like managed wilderness. I like to know that there will be people around. I like to know that I can't get lost. And the beautiful thing about Golden Gate Park is you can kind of see off into the distance houses. So you know at some point the park will end. So you're not going to get lost in there. But it was beautiful. At one point we found the Strawberry Hill. We found a waterfall. There's a lot of really, really cool things there. And I feel like even though we did 3 big hikes at Golden Gate Park, we only scratched the surface. I can't wait to go back. There's a bison pen in there somewhere. There's a lot of really cool stuff to see, and I don't think I'd get sick of it if I was up there a lot. So that was a lot of fun. But then we go to Carmel, and we spend 3 or 4 days in Carmel. Let me just tell you, Carmel, California might be my favorite place in the state of California. We loved our trip there so much, we already planned another one. We already planned another trip out there. And while you would imagine one of the great things about Carmel is you get to walk around this town and see all the dogs, and yeah, there's a lot of that, and wine tasting and good food. But little did I know that Carmel, it's a little town by the sea. It's right there in the name. And yes, there is the beach trail, and you can walk along the beach walk, and we did that, and it was lovely. But on the other side of town, there is such a gorgeous nature walk. It's called Mission Trails, and it is, you just walk down Ocean. You're right there within like 10 minutes outside of the main town. And it is the most perfectly manicured little place ever. You're walking on the best footing I've ever had for a hiking trail. It's like perfectly manicured mulch. There's lots of great things to say. The trails are wide. The people are friendly. There's lots of different paths you can take, but none of them are that crazy hard. It is so well shaded, and no matter what time of day you go out there, it is gorgeous. So I had a really, really, really good time up there. We're definitely going to be going back. And while I liked the beach walk, I loved Mission Trails so much. Like, having that in your backyard, if I lived there, and that's my goal now in life, is to make enough money that I can live in Carmel by the sea, because I can't think of a more perfect place. Not only that, but being in the San Francisco Bay and being in the Monterey Bay for what was the big heat wave in early July, it was like 73. It was perfect. I have never appreciated beach weather and bay weather so much, because after doing that for a week, coming back to the hot valley hasn't been easy. Feel like I don't handle the heat as well as I used to. But look, those are just a couple of places that I've recently traveled to. I got a lot of places locally that I have hiked, that I like to hike, and of course, there's some classics as well. You can shout out something that people don't know a lot about. You can give love to a place everybody knows about. Tell me how much you love Griffith, but tell me a place you love to go hiking in the state of California. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We got to work off those 5 pounds that we put on during the French fry show. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to John in L.A. John, hello.
Hey, Randy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So everybody knows about this, but I always feel like I'm far away when I go. So it's right north of Hollywood and La Brea, and it's Runyon Canyon.
You know what's amazing is I have never been to Runyon Canyon. I've heard about it my whole life, but I've never actually been. Tell me all about it, John.
Well, I've seen Jared Leto there. A lot of celebrities go there.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You definitely, when you first start going, it's like, oh my God, you're like, I shouldn't have signed up for this. But then after a few weeks, you get used to it, and then you kind of begin to like it. It's pretty cool.
I do love a hike that starts to kick your butt in the beginning, and the more and more you go back, the more you feel like, okay, I'm accomplishing something. I'm learning how to deal with the grade. That is pretty great.
And there's a reward at the end of it. So if you get to the top, you get to see the most beautiful view of Los Angeles. And on a clear day, you could even see the ocean. So wonderful.
I will say that's a great point, John. If you can find time in your schedule to go for a hike a day or two after a rain and it's really clear out, you can see everything. You can see the ocean. You can see the mountains. It's pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Randy. Have a nice weekend.
Hey, you have a great weekend too. Thank you so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. Runyon Canyon, that is on my list. I don't know why I've never been. There's just some parts of Hollywood when you're deep in the valley that you get afraid to go to just because of traffic. Like, I used to go to Griffith a lot when I had a schedule that worked for Griffith, because one of the benefits to working mornings, and I worked mornings here on KABC for a very long time, was that I get off at 10 a.m. and there would be no traffic. And I lived in Burbank, so I even just going from the radio station to Burbank, I would pass by Griffith Park. And because it was 10 a.m. on like a Tuesday, you could actually get parking in Griffith Park and start hiking past the observatory. The views up there, I would love to just put on some headphones, listen to some like dance music, and I'd be off on my own little adventure. And I did that. Probably in 2014, 2015, I probably did that once a week for a good year or two. But nice thing about Griffith, too, is there's so many different levels. Like there's the really, really easy pass with minimal grade. There's the medium pass with a little bit of grade. And then there's those really crazy, it's almost like you're going rock climbing. But it is a beautiful jewel in the center of the city if you can get there. Since I moved to the West Valley, I'm a little more afraid of getting there, but Griffith Park is pretty magical. Now, right near there is also Mount Lee, which is, where you can hike to pretty much where you could see the Hollywood sign. I did that once with my wife, and this was before I got really into good shoes. I used to get dragged along hiking. I didn't really appreciate hiking and walking until just a few years ago. And I think part of the reason was I always had cheap shoes that had terrible footing, bad traction, and so I'd slip and slide everywhere. And I would say one of the most terrified moments of my life was trying to go down Mount Lee in cheap $40 Nikes, because I was so scared that I was going to slip and fall and twist my ankle that I was doing the boot scoot boogie every single time. It felt a little too steep for me. And another place that I really, really, really wish I would have appreciated when I lived there in Burbank was Wildwood Canyon, because that was almost practically in our backyard. Beautiful thing about being in Burbank, especially if you're on like the Burbank-Glendale border in the back behind Glen Oaks, is that park is really close. It's beautiful. And I would have appreciated it way more back then if I was more into walking the way I am now, and if I had good shoes. Having good shoes makes a large difference. I only realized that 6-7 years ago when I went into Fleet in Encino, and the guy told me, "What size are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm a 10.5." And he looked at my feet and he said, "No, you're not. Do your feet hurt all the time?" And I was like, yes, they do. He says, "You're a 12, sir." Changed my life. Also, don't go cheap on sneakers. Never go cheap on sneakers, because you will pay for it. Anyway, 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. We're talking beautiful places to hike in California. Could be Southern California, could be somewhere you road trip to. I've done Yosemite before, and I can't wait to do it again because I'm in way better shape now than when I went to Yosemite in 2015. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Mike in Woodland Hills. Mike, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great.
I got a good spot. Now, I live in Woodland Hills. My fiancée lives in the Palisades, and I've hiked from Woodland Hills all the way over to the Palisades through the Santa Monica Mountain, and it's probably more for than anything else. It's got a lot of beautiful sights. You can see the ocean once you get there. My girlfriend's.
Oh, Mike, I'm so sorry. The phone has been cutting out. Try to call us back. All I really got from that was that he lives in Woodland Hills, the wife is in the Palisades, and he's hiking somewhere in between. Maybe he's doing top of Topanga, because that's really pretty, going through some of the trails off there on Topanga Canyon. Maybe going somewhere off Topanga Town and then go to the inn on the 7th Ray. Tell me some cool places to go hiking in California. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Chris in Westlake Village. Chris, hello.
Hey, Randy. Love your day show as well. And a lot of you know this. You have to go see the top of Point Doom. It's easy, like Dume, and you'll see there's 10 parking spaces on top, but they're only 2 hours and they're usually full. So the easy and take your time way is the end of what they called Free Zuma, Westward Beach. I think now it's called Point Doom Beach. Where that big rock is where they filmed Planet of the Apes, and you park down there, and many other commercials, and you park down there on the bottom, hike up to the top of Point Doom. You look north and you can see all the way past Ventura. You have to go on a clear day. Look south, you see the whole Santa Monica Bay. And then go south, and if you've never seen Doom Cove before in your life, it'll blow your mind. It's absolutely gorgeous. Head on down to Doom Cove. Take your time. It's such a beautiful beach. And there's been many wedding proposals up on top of that point up there. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then real quick, there's a point up north, I think it's below Big Sur, Point Lobos. It's a preserve, and the rocks go out like fingers, and there's just so much nature there. It's so beautiful. So you all have a good weekend.
Chris, I'm looking at pictures of everything you just mentioned, and they're all going on my list immediately. And Point Lobos, I might try to hit that when we're up there for Labor Day weekend. But Point Doom and Doom Cove, those I got to do ASAP. They look just absolutely gorgeous, and it's not that far. Chris, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. That's all you got to do here, folks, is we're trying to work off that 5 pounds that we gained from the French fry show by telling me great gorgeous hiking trails in California. This is the most beautiful state, and there's a lot of nature, and I've explored very little of it. So let's share some great places to go hiking in Southern California, Northern California, doesn't matter, because you could road trip anywhere in this state. You really can. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's Happy Hour Friday, and we're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your favorite places to hike in California. Beautiful hiking trails in this state. Southern California, Northern California, whatever. There's a lot of gorgeous nature out here, and I'm ready to experience a lot more of it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Lee in Los Angeles. Lee, hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great.
This is Park. Thank you. This is Park in Manhattan Beach. Some of you may have heard it. It's called Sand Dune Park. And for those of you who don't know about it, it has this 100-foot sand dune of loose sand going up about 30-degree bank. And if you really want a good hike and some good cardio, go up that dune about 5 or 6 times, and by the time you're done, you're breathing heavy, and your legs are turned to jello. But the thing about it is, when you get to the top and you go maybe about 1 block over, you get this beautiful view of Manhattan Beach, all the way down to the coastline. It's really impressive, after going up and down that sand dune. But the only really thing bad about it is they used to be free going up that dune, but maybe about 10 years ago they started charging maybe $1 or $2 to keep the sand dune maintenance going. But if you ever get down there, it's well worth the time, and it's well worth the exercise you're going to get out of it.
Well, this is great, because I've been looking for more excuses to get down to Manhattan Beach and just walk around and see all the restaurants by the beach. But I'm going to work my butt off at Sand Dune Park, and then I'm going to go to the bars and restaurants because I've earned it. That looks great.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for the call, Lee. Appreciate it. I love this. Sand Dune Park and Manhattan Beach. I really want to get down to. I want to explore more of the beach cities in Southern California because, again, after spending that week in the Bay Area, I can't handle the heat anymore. I'm born and raised in the Valley, and I've lost my tolerance for all the hotness. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. How about Valerie in Long Beach? Valerie, hello.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Oh, thanks. So I have a couple, and since you mentioned the coast, I love hiking in Palos Verdes. There's so many great trails. But if you're looking for something that's easy on the trail, but if you want to turn off and go down to the ocean, hike back up, it's a really good exercise. You could park at the Trump Golf Course for free, and they've got some really nice trails going up and down the coast from there. And then you could take the street to the lighthouse. There's also a lighthouse trail in Palos Verdes. There's some really great views, great weather, and it's open to the public and free parking. So highly recommend the hike near the Trump Golf Course in Palos Verdes.
I got to check that out. It sounds great, and it sounds easy to get to as well. Valerie, thank you so much for the call. Have a great weekend. We're really getting a few spots out here, and I love how much of this is local, and I'm going to make a plan to get to it because, go early on a weekend, do some hiking, then find a place to have lunch. That is a fun day. And, we're looking at excuses to do anything with dogs, and dogs love hiking. Again, why we're going to try to make as much money as possible and move to Carmel. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your favorite places to go hiking in the state of California. Tell me about some beautiful hiking spots. They could be well-known. They could be unknown. I want to know about it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. More of your calls coming up next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can send us an email as well at randykabc@gmail.com. We live in the most beautiful state in the nation. We've got perfect weather where even in the summer it's still cool in the morning. There's a lot of gorgeous nature out there. So I want to know from you at 800-222-KABC, a great place to go hiking in California. Could be well-known, could be unknown. Tell me where you like to go hiking. What do you see out there? Let's go to George in Simi Valley. George, hello.
Hi, Randy. Thanks for having me. My favorite places are all in the High Sierra, but closer to home, I've got a fun one. If you like want to say you've gone to the highest point in some counties, for LA County, it's Baldy, but that's a fair amount of work. But if you go right up the 5 to Frazier Park, you can go up Mount Pinos. And it's a lovely little hike. I think it's about 3 miles round trip. Easy to park. Nobody's there. And Mount Pinos is the highest point in Ventura County. And you've got this great view looking down the Central Valley or back towards Ojai at the Topa Topa Mountains. And then the fun part is if you go another mile and a half to the west, you'll drop down 300 feet back up the other side. And there's another place on that ridge, which is the mountain I can't remember, but it's the highest point in Kern County. So you can knock out 2 counties in about a 5-6 mile hike. It's not that hard, and it won't be crowded. And it's going to be up in the cool air. You're up there, I think 7,000-8,000 feet. So it's nice.
That looks gorgeous. It's such a nice area. It's not even that far out of the way. George, that sounds great. I can go to the highest part in Ventura County and Kern County. I love it. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. That is Mount Pinos in Frazier Park area. 800-222-KABC. Darren in Glassell Park. Darren, hello.
Yeah, hi, Randy. Got a good place just north of La Cañada up Angeles Crest Highway. It's called Switzer's Camp. There's a nice waterfall at the end of that hike, and it's a fantastic place to spend the afternoon.
Darren, that is actually on my list of one of the places I was going to mention. I've been there. I went there with my wife probably 10 years ago with the dogs. It is, like you said, one of the most beautiful places. It's got great shade. There is a waterfall. That was a place that I was hiking with really cheap shoes, and I slipped on rocks and I twisted my ankle. But I would definitely go back because that is a gorgeous area.
Yeah, it is nice, but you do need good shoes.
Yeah, that's the number one thing I can say. Don't buy cheap shoes if you want to go hiking. Darren, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. That was right there on my list, Switzer Falls. I remember it very distinctly because we went with the dogs, and at the time we had this poodle, Mix Honey. She's a little white thing, and she found this muddy patch to kind of roll around in, and I swear the mud kind of just stained her fur for what felt like a year. She just had this mark and always reminded me of Switzer Falls. Let's go to Mary in Anaheim. Mary, hello.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
Hey. Hi. Hey, I know it's kind of far from the valley. I live in Orange County. We're in San Diego all the time. If you've never been to Point Loma, have you ever been to Point Loma hiking?
I haven't. Tell me all about it.
It is beautiful. First of all, you're on these cliffs in San Diego looking over all the Bay Area, all of the water. When it's hot in the valley, you leave early, you get down there. You can hike down to the tide pools. There's all kinds of hiking trails around there, and it is absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. And you know how you're going to hit nice and cool weather when you're down there on the water, and you can't go wrong. It's a great hike all around. And they've got some history, about different things, about what's gone on in that area. And there is actually a naval cemetery there, Point Loma. And then you go into the little town of Point Loma, great little bars and restaurants and stuff to have lunch after. But Point Loma should be on your list, especially when it's going to be 100 degrees. Head down there. You will not be disappointed.
I'm going to make a whole weekend trip out of this. This looks perfect. This looks right up my alley. Point Loma. Mary, thank you so much for the recommendation. This is great. Have a good weekend.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Now, another one in San Diego County that I have to mention is because I actually went there a couple years ago is, what was it, Valentine's Day last year? Yeah, Valentine's Day last year, my wife and I went to Torrey Pines. We stayed at the lodge at Torrey Pines, which might be one of the most gorgeous, incredible hotels that I've ever been to. And the bartenders happen to be some of the friendliest I've ever experienced. Great place, incredible restaurant, and of course they've got the golf course up there. I'm not really a golfer, but you walk a little past the golf course to the Torrey Pines Nature Preserve. It is beautiful. It is so scenic. The weather was perfect, even though we were there in February. Would definitely go back for the lodge and would definitely go back for the Nature Preserve. That whole area. And even though you can't take dogs into the nature preserve, the trail, you can go alongside it, that whole area, La Jolla. More places I'd love to move to if I could get out of the valley and work remotely, of course. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Mario in Chino. Mario, hello.
Hey, Randy. There's the Mount Wilson Trail hike. It's in Sierra Madre, beautiful area. It's about the place we always go to is the Orchard Camp, one of the sites. It's 3.5 miles to Orchard Camp. The trail can be wider than maybe 2-foot trail. It's very advanced. And if you do a Google on Facebook, you'll see the pictures. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, challenging, and it's a workout. You climb 2,000 feet elevation, and then your reward is coming down the hill, and it's amazing. Beautiful. You got to check it out.
It looks great. Thank you so much for the recommendation, Mario. Appreciate it. Orchard Camp, Sierra Madre, the Mount Wilson Trail. Mount Wilson is actually where all the radio antennas are and TV antennas. So that's pretty cool. Let's go to Mark in Sierra Madre. Mark, hello.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing great.
What I was telling you, the trail I'm talking about is at the top of Lake Avenue in Pasadena. It's called the Sam Merrill Trail. It's 3.5 miles one way. It's not easy, but it's pretty cool when you get there because there's a lot of L.A. County history from the early 20th century. There were a series of electric trains that would run people up there to hotels and tavernas that used to be there. So there's still some leftover like gears and cables and stuff like that to see, just kind of a little bit of eye candy before you head back down.
That's right up my alley. Gorgeous nature and a little bit of history. I love that. Okay, this one's definitely going on my list, and then I can go hang out in Pasadena afterwards. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. I would go in the fall or the winter because it's it's about 99 degrees here today. So anyway.
All right, I'm going to save that one for October, November, but that sounds great, Mark. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. I do love if you can incorporate a little history into your hiking in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I know I talk about Santa Fe all the time. I'm obsessed. But there is this path called the Cross of the Martyrs, where you're already up 7,000 feet in the air, and then you go up all these stairs to an even higher elevation. But all throughout the steps are these little plaques of Santa Fe in the 1200s and the 1300s and the 1600s, because that city has so much history, more history in the city of Santa Fe than the rest of the country because of, everything that's gone on back there, going all the way back to the Pueblo people. So I love that. Let's go to Ed in Granada Hills. Ed, hello.
Hello, Randy. Firstly, I want to tell you, you are the most charming voice and personality on the radio. You're right up there with Bob and Ray. You're the best. Okay.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Ed.
Okay. So anyway, I was a kid in Brooklyn, and TV came in 1951, and all we saw in the beginnings of TV were movie serials and old Westerns. And it was almost like, then I got into business and have been for 60 years. It was almost like I stepped through the tube because all that stuff was made from Topanga Canyon West at the most fantastic rock formations, which served to be Arizona, Africa, whatever they needed. That's where they shot. There was no 118 freeway. That spelled the end of the tenure of those 5 movie towns, Topanga Canyon West. But I take a book which has where things were shot. As an example, I have my friends come from New York, and I showed them the opening of the Lone Ranger where Clayton Moore would rear Silver up next to a big rock. Well, that's right at Red Mesa Drive on the little road going up to what is now the condos. Further down was a trailer park, now is Iverson Ranch. Its history, 20 feet deep, but you can get real specific. It's a little hot now. I wouldn't do it now. But they're ancient rock formations that go back to First Nations people who are living around there. But even something like one of the closing shots in the classic Grapes of Wrath was shot at the top of Topanga Canyon where the 118 is now. That's where they had the camera set up looking all through the San Fernando Valley that Jobs had at the end of the movie. He finally made it, and that's where they did the shot. And many of the people who became, household words like Clayton Moore, the Lone Ranger, this, that, even Bob Hope, a piece of Stagecoach John Ford Stagecoach was shot near the Topanga Rocks. And there's even in the back of the trailer park, there's the remnants of what was the Iverson Ranch, some artifacts left. So for any kind of movie buffs or Western buffs or people who are just interested in the history of television and movies in L.A., Topanga Canyon going west all the way up to and including Corriganville, where Crash Corrigan had a movie town. It's just so steeped in history and lovely place to hike. Lovely place to hike.
God, that's got everything I can imagine. Gorgeous scenery, Hollywood history. And it's right in my backyard. I've got to get out there. Ed, that's incredible. Thanks so much for telling us all about that. That is so cool.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for the nice words. We'll keep going. More of your phone calls coming up in just a bit. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KEBC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KEBC. We're talking hiking trails in California. Running short on time, so let's go quick here. Bob and Yorba Linda. Bob, hello.
Hello there, Randy. You have one of the greatest shows on radio. In my hiking experience and so forth, I'm now 87 years old, and I'm not hiking that much anymore. There's no paramedics up at the top. So, but I've been to the top of every mountain that is here, from Mount Wilson, Mount Baldy, San Gorgonio, San Jacinto, Tacos Peak. The Mount Baldy is 10,080 feet. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, and there's even a restaurant at the notch halfway up. And so, but San Gorgonio is the highest mountain here in Southern California. Of course, I had a reason to be able to, because I was training all the time to be able to make an Olympic team, which I did do in 1960 for speed skating. So that the hiking was very, very advantageous for what we used to do at Mount Baldy is look at the number on the lift going up and see how many times that number would pass as we would go from the parking lot up to the notch. But you have a wonderful show, and it's really intriguing and of course, the real rigorous run would be out of Hastings in Pasadena, Hastings Ranch going up to Mount Wilson, but you have to go up the fire break, and there's there used to be a lot of snakes going up there.
Oh, well, that's going to scare me, but those are some great suggestions. Bob, thanks so much for the call and the nice words. More of your calls coming up. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KEBC. All right, got about just a minute here. 790 KEBC welcomes Bruce Hornsby and the Noisemakers at the Libby Bowl July 28th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com, but right now, call in number 9 at 1-888-790-5222. Gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by The Canyon, where music meets the soul. Good luck dialing. Barbara, you've got about 30 seconds, Barbara. Where do you like to hike?
Randy, Leg Lake. You go. It's Legg. You go east on the 60 freeway past East LA. I think it's in Rosemead. You take Rosemead, go right. It's a little tricky there on the roadway. There's a shooting range across the street with lots of guns. Pop, pop, pop. But it's a lovely little lake, and lots of people go there, all ages. Children. They have some picnic tables. There are all kinds of geese with white with blue eyes and Canadian geese and mallard ducks, and there's a little island in the middle of the lake, and it's very charming. Lots of people enjoy it.
It sounds great. Thanks so much for the suggestion, Barbara. Last one I'm going to say, Culver City Stairs, the Baldwin Hills Scenic Overlook. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.